We want you to stop beating up on yourself when you find yourself in negative emotion, and instead adopt a new mantra that said, I'm going to reach for the best feeling thought, here's the new part, that I have available. I'm going to reach for the best feeling thought that I have available. And it would be very helpful to you if you will stop comparing how you feel right now and the thought that you might come up with. Stop comparing it with the best feeling thought that you've ever thought. Or stop comparing it with the best feeling thought that anybody has ever thought. Stop comparing it with the best feeling ever thought. Instead, say, I want to find the best feeling thought that I have access to right here and now. And can you feel how, if that is your mantra, if you say, here and now I'm going to find the best thought I can find, and then you find it, and even if it's a really crummy thought by world thought standards, instead you stop and say, good for me, I found a less crummy thought. This thought is not as painful as the thought I was thinking before. For example, sometimes we see you are in the depths of despair. You're grieving, you're feeling traumatized. And someone who cares very much about you, one of those Abraham friends, who's tuned in, tapped in, turned on, they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, they're sunshine and lollipops, they're rainbows and roses, they're sickening. They say to you, follow your bliss. And you would like to eliminate them from the planet. Because they can't understand where you are, and you can't understand where they are, and their words are just annoying. And what we want you to do when you feel that strong disconnection from who you really are is to say, I'm going to reach for the best thought I have access to, and when you find that extreme anger, we want you to have a little personal party at the relief you have found in your anger. Because you know you feel better than you did. And even though you don't feel as good as they would like you to feel, in other words, think about it. Your family and friends, those up close to you, like it better when you're depressed than when you're angry. Because when you're depressed, you go away and leave them alone. And when you're angry, you're sort of after them. But they have no idea the relief you have found in your anger. And so stop in the improved thought, recognizing the improved feeling, and say to yourself, I feel better. And in doing so, you have reclaimed your power. Because now you're saying, I felt that way and it was awful, and now I chose this thought. And while it's not the best thought I've ever thought or the best thought that anyone would like me to feel or think, I feel better. And in doing so, you've reclaimed your power. Because if you can go from that suffocating, depressing, grief thought and feeling to anger and recognize that you feel better, then there's no place that you cannot go. So often what goes wrong is that you feel the grief, and even subconsciously, unconsciously, in self-survival mode, you find the angry thought, but then you have been so coached and counseled and encouraged against the idea of being angry that now you beat up on yourself for your angry choice, and now you go back to depression. So you go from depression to anger, to depression to anger, to depression to anger, to depression to anger, but you never felt in control because you never consciously embraced your anger and said, I chose this and it was a good choice, and you don't know. When somebody says to you, you should not feel the way you feel, you gotta say to them, I gotta feel the way I feel. I feel the way I feel because of the habits of thoughts that I've picked up along my physical trail. No one can tell you how you should feel. Your indicators tell you how you do feel. Now, you know where you are and you know where you want to be. Now, Your reason for life experience in this physical body is now coming into focus, because now here you are, here I am, and here's where I want to be. But can you feel the difference between saying, here I am and here's where I want to be, and here I am and here's where I want to be? In other words, here I am and here's where I want to be. So you're just constantly making your new statement of what you want. As Jerry and Esther were driving from Phoenix to San Diego, about a 400-mile drive, about halfway along that journey is Yuma, Arizona. So here they are, they're on the highway, they're on their way to San Diego, and they find themselves in Yuma. They don't stop and go into a fit of depression. We're in Yuma. They don't get so upset that they're in Yuma that they just turn around and go back to Phoenix. Instead, they know that Yuma is on the way to Phoenix, and they're on their way to San Diego from Phoenix. In other words, they know that they can get there, and that's the way we want you to feel about your emotions. So here you are in this mode of frustration. Don't beat up on yourself because you're not where you want to be. Instead, do something about it. Keep yourself pointed to where you want to go. And it is our promise to you that you have to go there. You always go where you're pointed. Jerry's discovered that as he watches Esther drive the monster bus. He'll say, oh, look at that, and off she goes. He stopped doing that. He said, are you aware that you go wherever I point? He just rides along silently enjoying the countryside now. He doesn't point Esther off into the bushes so much. But everyone is that way. You go where you are looking. You go where you are focused. You go vibrationally to that which you are giving your attention to. So can you feel the power of the mantra that says, wherever I am, here I am. I'm reaching for the best thought I have available. And now you're not beating up on yourself because you didn't get all the way over there. Instead, you get to a better feeling place. You know that you got to a better feeling place. You stabilize in your better feeling place. You don't compare your better feeling place to somebody else's best ever feeling place. And you regain your power, and then you say, I made it here, now I can go here, and then I can go here. So, wherever you are is wherever you are. Deep depression? Maybe. Wanting to be connected to Source and feel the sublime ecstasy of fulfillment and connection to Source? Maybe. So maybe your range is from here to here, but at least you know where you are and where you want to be. Frustration? Maybe. Where you want to be? Sublime ecstasy. At least you know where you are and where you want to be. And the thing that we would like to call your attention to is this range between where you are and where you want to be. We want you to focus upon where you are and where you want to be. We would like you to embrace where you are, because where you are is just fine. Where you are is the byproduct of the sifting and the sorting. Where you are is a work in progress. Where you are is all right. Where you are, especially if you are consciously aware of where you are, is in a very good place, because if you are knowing where you are and you are knowing where you want to be, then you can feel as you beat the drum, whether you're beating the drum toward what you are wanting or whether you're going in the opposite direction. And that's really what we're wanting you to feel here today. You'll get so good at this that you'll find yourself starting to beat a drum, an old familiar drum. Only this time when you beat the old familiar drum, you'll be so aware that you're on your way back to Phoenix. In other words, you'll say, what's the matter with me? I know that I'm headed toward San Diego. I know that's where I want to go. Why have I all of a sudden stopped and made a U-turn, and why am I going in the opposite direction? And we say, oh, it's easy to turn around and around and around and around and around and around. Jerry laughs with Esther. He's teased her over the years that she gets so involved in what she's doing and pays very little attention to where she's going, because after all, she has a Magellan navigational system and a Majeri navigational system. And so why should she pay any attention to where she's going? One of them should speak up if they want her to do something differently. She's driving along, having a very good time, and she has discovered that she can make a U-turn even with the monster bus. In other words, you can turn around and around and around, so no big deal. In other words, there is never a problem in going in the wrong direction, because you can always turn around and go in the right direction. You just got to be aware of where you are and where you're wanting to go. Magellan is really an interesting contraption. Have you seen it? Magellan always knows where you are. There's an antenna on the roof of the vehicle, and satellites in the sky have you triangulated, and it knows where you are. And then there is a map inside the computer brain. And so when you tell the map where you want to go, the computer, who knows where you are, lays out the route for you to tell you which way to go, even tells you what turns to make, how far away your exits are. Magellan knows where you are, and when you tell it where you want to go, it will give you options: most use of freeways, least use of freeways, shortest time. It hasn't yet told them where the low underpasses are, but sometimes those short routes don't turn out to be that short. But what Magellan does not do, Magellan never says, all right, we know where you are and we know where you want to go, but where have you been? Magellan never says, how long have you been there? Magellan never says, why have you been there so long? Magellan is like the guidance system that we're wanting you to activate. Magellan just says, okay, here you are. Where do you want to be? Go this way. And that's what your emotions are doing also. Your emotions are pointing you in the direction of where you want to go. And if you will pay attention to the way you feel, you'll know whether you've headed back to Phoenix or whether you're on your journey to San Diego. You can tell by the way you feel. And the more you play this game, the more you say, nothing is more important than that I feel good. And is this thought that I'm chewing on right now taking me toward what I'm wanting or further from it? And so negative emotion is not something that goes unnoticed anymore. Negative emotion is something that is understood. And the thing that we want you to feel, we want you to stop condemning yourself for your natural negative emotion. You will never feel good when you're looking at the opposite of something you want. You cannot look at things that you do not want and ever feel good. And you cannot make all of the things that don't feel good change so that you can feel good. The world is not going to change to please you. We agree it should. But the world is not going to change to please you. Your world will become whatever you focus upon. But you've got to have your eye on where you are with your real eye toward where you're going. And you've got to feel your way sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence. You cannot sloppily fall back into the old habit again and again, falling on the other side of the line and ever move. That's what makes you say, I'm stuck. And we say, you're not stuck because nothing stands still. Everything is always changing. There is no possibility of a radio signal standing static. In other words, you cannot be stuck. You know what's happening? It's changing to the same thing over and over and over again. Those are wonderful words. Hear it. You are not stuck. You are recreating the same thing by beating the similar drum. So when you put it in that context, my financial condition is changing to the same thing over and over again. I'm not stuck in not enough money, or I'm not stuck in weighing more than I want to weigh, or I'm not stuck in this physical condition or in this bad relationship. I'm not stuck. I am changing it again and again and again and again to the same thing. So what's happening is it's different places and different faces, but it's the same experience because you've not got your eye on San Diego. You're so upset that you are in Yuma, that you keep trying to explain why you are still in Yuma, and in continuing to explain why you are still in Yuma, you stay in Yuma. But it's not because you're stuck. You just keep stepping around in Yuma. You keep creating, recreating the same thing. Yuma is a very nice place. Letters are already making their way to your office. You get this, don't you? The way you feel is so important, and it does not matter how you feel. How you feel is how you feel. What really matters is the distance between how you feel and how you want to feel. Now, it sounds like what we've been talking about is where I am and where I want to be, but you think that we're talking about I have not a beautiful car, I want a beautiful car, I have not a beautiful body, I want a beautiful body. And we do mean all of that. But what we really mean is, I don't feel so good, I want to feel better. I don't feel so good, I want to feel better. Feel the power of this thought. No matter where you are, if you say, here I am, and it's just fine. Oh, can you feel the diffusing of that? Here I am, and it's okay. Here I am, and it's okay. And here's where I want to be. Here I am, and it's okay. And it is my intent to find the best feeling thought that I have access to. Now, what is it? You got to be willing